This holiday, Verizon is giving you incredible gifts and savings you'll enjoy all year. When you switch, you'll get 4 new iPhone 17 Pros. No trade-in needed. That's right. Get 4 lines for just $25 a line and the amazing iPhone 17 Pro for everyone. Save big this holiday. Visit Verizon today. $20 monthly promo credits applied to account over 35 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G and 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply for phone offer. See Verizon.com for details.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. Like Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day. Yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Hello and welcome to mini episode number 491 of Real Life Ghost Stories, and I have 3 spooky stories for you today, and the last story comes from the 3rd of November 2025, and story number 1 comes from Niamh. I better start off and describe my mum, the storyteller and witness to this eerie event. She is the type of person who, if you wanted to pull a joke on someone in the family, she would be the one to break it. She couldn't go along with it. She would ruin the joke in a friendly way, and she would never lie or keep anything from anyone. We always knew what we were getting from her for Christmas weeks in advance. She is just totally transparent. She's just not the type of person to make things up or to make a spooky story or anything like that. So I guess that makes this story a little bit more chilling. So this event happened back in a rural village in the heart of West Cork in Ireland about 50 years ago. My mum and dad, at the time, they were dating. I'd say they were maybe 20 or so. The two of them and my aunt and her boyfriend were coming home one night from having a few drinks in the local village. Bear in mind, my mum doesn't drink, but I think the other 3 had had a few. They were coming home after a dance along the winding road in the dead of night, with nothing but meadows around them. They were returning to their childhood home, walking about 3 kilometres from the village to the family home where my granny and granddad lived. It's also worth mentioning that I grew up with lots of tales of the banshee and fairies in that particular area. It always seemed to have a magical twist to it. As they were walking, they heard multiple clop, clop, clop. My mum described it as multiple people wearing high heels. She describes it as either that or a horse coming along, just that particular noise. So they were waiting for a horse or something to come towards them. They weren't sure what it was. Eventually, she said, 6 figures came towards them. Translucent. Dense. She said it was a mixture of white and grey, nothing specific. No facial features, just outlines. 6 figures, 6 outlines. She described it as being so noisy with this patter noise, yet they did not touch the road. She described them as talking among themselves. She said the 4 of them, my mum, my aunt, my uncle and my dad, had to jump into the ditch to get out of their way. These figures didn't even notice them. They kept moving forward and past them and eventually evaporated into the dark. Then silence. My mum explains how they hurried home after that. They told my granddad, and my granddad wasn't even slightly surprised. I think the fact that I know my mum isn't a bullshitter, and how even after all these years the story remains the same. She describes it to a T. Chills my bones. So my second story is a story much closer to this time. My partner recently bought a house, and this house is an old house. There was a lady who lived there with her kids on her own. I think her husband had passed away, leaving them on their own. This poor lady passed away a few years ago. Her house went for sale and my partner was lucky to have his offer accepted. It's on beautiful grounds, quite a large house. He began the gutting process of the whole place. As he was in the middle of gutting it one day, he came into a room that he was envisioning. And this room he had gone into several times, every single day after work actually. He would go in and sit there and imagine what he would do in there because he wanted to use it as his man cave room. He used to sit in there and imagine having a lovely glass of whiskey in a few months. One evening he noticed a wad of cash. Now this wad of cash was in an old coin bag. And I'm not sure about the UK, but in Ireland we used to have old bank bags that we used to put change into. They are no longer widely used. So in this bag was €400 in notes. He picked up the bag. He presumed it was one of the builders, or maybe was found while gutting and belonged to the owners. So he picked it up in the hopes of returning it to its rightful owner. He asked one of the builders a few days later and they all denied owning this sum of money or even finding it. All the while my partner thought it was strange that it appeared, as he used to sit here every evening and would have definitely noticed it sooner, as it was right on the windowsill where he sat. So then, the ex-owner of the house, he called one day to pick up some letters that were still being delivered to the house. This is the older lady's son. My partner happened to ask about the wad of cash. The man said, "No, I don't think any of us left any cash. When did you find it and how much?" My partner explained how he noticed it last Tuesday, its location, the sum, and how it was in an old bank coin bag. Bob said, "God, that was my birthday. And my mom used to give me €400 in a bank bag on my birthday every year." My partner just froze. Now, he wouldn't believe any of this paranormal stuff. He's just not like that. So he gave him the money and let it be. And I kind of brought the question to him. And he always shut it down and said there's always an explanation. So anyway, a couple of months had passed, maybe 6 months. And he started to say, "I think there's something in the house." I questioned him why, and he said, "Well, the doors, they just keep opening randomly." He was in the kitchen one day and the son, Bob, happened to call again just to collect more letters. And the door from the kitchen to the utility just opened randomly. And nothing was said. Nothing more was said about it. But it's happened a few times where the door has just opened randomly. Now, I'm 5 months postpartum, and I used to stay in the house when I was freshly postpartum. And I remember getting up in the night with my baby. As you can imagine, if you have a baby, things are rocky. I remember getting up in one of the nights and being teary and crying. Maybe I had a few words with my partner, whatever. But I was crying and I was sitting on the floor feeding my baby and all the lights were off. And I just felt a presence. And the presence was lovely. It was warm. And it was the kind of presence like an arm on your shoulder. So look, is it coincidence? I don't know. But whatever it is, I feel a lovely feeling there. It's a nice, warm feeling. So if it is the mom, maybe she's bringing some nice warmth to the house. Niamh, I completely agree with you. That whole area of the west of Ireland is just beautiful. And it is magical. It's completely magical. And I wondered, so all I could picture in my brain when you were describing those outlines, those sort of translucent outlines, was, you know, the famine figures, the statues? They're in Dublin and they are a series of figures, statues that are designed to commemorate all those who lost their lives in the Great Hunger. If you have not seen them, I would highly recommend looking them up on Google Images. They are really staggering to look at and striking to look at. And that's what it reminded me of. I don't know why. I don't know why I was seeing that in my brain, but that's what I was seeing in my brain. And we know that a lot of roads in the west of Ireland were built as famine roads, as in the British government felt like they couldn't just give people food, that they had to work for it, and therefore roads were built, and often those roads led to nowhere. They were just built for the sake of it. They're all over Ireland. And I wondered, those 6 figures moving in the darkness, was it? I don't know why I got, in my head, I got visions of the Great Hunger, but that's just what I was imagining when I was reading it. Maybe it's nothing to do with that at all. And I absolutely love your second story, because it sounds like this gorgeous older woman still wanted to give her son that €400 in those old bank bags every year for his birthday. And how beautiful is that I don't know, I mean, how do you even materialise that out of nowhere? Maybe she had a series of €400 in bank bags somewhere around the house. and managed to transport it on that particular day. And I totally get why people don't move on from the houses that they lived in and died in, because I don't know, like that's where you've had your whole life, your kids have grown up, and I guess you'd be thinking, well, if I hang around, maybe I'll get to watch how they progress through life, I suppose. And it's really lovely, and I'm glad that she was there to look after you in those early days of postpartum, because I obviously I've not had a child, but I know lots of people in my life have, and those first couple of months, I mean those first 18 years, but those first couple of months in particular, when you're trying to find a routine and the baby's not sleeping and all of those things, are really hard. So I'm glad that she was there to put an arm around you and look after you.
This holiday, Verizon is giving you incredible gifts and savings you'll enjoy all year. When you switch, you'll get 4 new iPhone 17 Pros, no trade-in needed. That's right, get 4 lines for just $25 a line and the amazing iPhone 17 Pro for everyone. Save big this holiday. Visit Verizon today. $20 monthly promo credits applied to account over 35 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G and 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply for phone offer. See Verizon.com for details.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. You know, one of the perks about having 4 kids that you know about is actually getting a direct line to the big man up north. Mm-hmm. And this year, he wants you to know the best gift that you can give someone is the gift of Mint Mobile's unlimited wireless for $15 a month. Now, you don't even need to wrap it. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Hi, it's Paige DeSorbo from Giggly Squad. You ever stand in front of your closet and just say, I have nothing to wear, while you're literally surrounded by clothes? Because same. So I started listing pieces I'm over on Depop. And honestly, it's been amazing. You can sell what you're done with, and someone out there will love it. And the best part about it is there's no seller fee. So the money you make actually stays in your pocket, which feels very chic. It's also insanely easy. I listed something while watching TV, and it sold before the episode even ended. So download the Depop app and list your first item today, because your old outfit could be someone else's new favorite. Depop, where taste recognizes taste. Payment processing fees, boosting fees still apply. For more info, visit Depop.com.
Ever wonder why so many people regain weight after stopping a GLP-1? Up to 40% of the weight lost can come from lean muscle. This weakens the body, slows metabolism, and makes it easier to put the pounds back on, creating a cycle of dependency. Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet offers a drug-free way to maintain results and support long-term metabolic health. In just 5 days, it activates fasting pathways to burn fat, protect muscle, and rejuvenate cells, all while letting you enjoy real food. Get 15% off plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe at prolonlife.com/start. That's prolonlife.com/start.
And our second story today comes from Billi Jo. First, I have to tell you about my dad. He's the reason I'm a believer. My dad passed on November the 1st, 2022, and he would 100% haunt my ass if given the chance. My dad was famous for hating nuts in baked goods, even though my mom and I loved having walnuts in our brownies and other baked goods. Around a year or so after my dad had passed, I was making brownies. I had my whisk in the bowl mixing the dry ingredients when my mom said, "Don't forget the walnuts." I stepped away from the bowl and the whisk flew across the kitchen. Do note, no one was near the whisk, and it didn't just fall out of the bowl, it flew across the kitchen. I then yell out, "These aren't for you!" But it is nice to know that my dad is still around. A friend of the family had his cows at a friend's property, and he one morning went to go and take care of the cattle. As he pulled into the property, he saw his friend, the property owner, standing at the sliding glass door. As he pulled in, he waved and yelled out his window, "Hey buddy, I'll be back in a minute to say hello." He went about his business taking care of his cattle. He then came back up to the house, and when he got to the door, his friend was laying on the floor in the kitchen. He had passed the night before, and he was the first person to find him. You know what, that is the kind of shit I'd be doing if I was dead and haunting people. I also don't like nuts in anything. I don't eat nuts. They give me the ick and I don't eat them. So I would be very inclined to be flinging whisks around as well, just for the sake of it. I'd be like, I know that I'm not going to be eating this brownie, but I still don't want walnuts in it. And what a lovely playful way to let you know that he's still around. I just think there's such comfort in that, such beautiful comfort to be able to go, he's still there, keeping an eye and still being a jokester, which is lovely. And your second story gives me the heebie-jeebies. I mean, obviously this man wanted to be found. Of course you would. Of course, if you're lying on the kitchen floor all night, your spirit or whatever exists inside your body that is otherworldly must be like, okay, I need to let somebody know that I'm here, and I need to let somebody know that they need to find me, because God, how else do you explain it? Like, he pulls up, sees him, waves at him, is like, I'll be back in a minute to say hello. And then he goes in to say hello and he's dead on the kitchen floor. That must really mess with your brain. And our final story today comes from Aoibheann. I work as a tour guide and receptionist in a centuries-old castle in Dublin, Ireland. The kind of place that feels heavy with history the moment you walk through its doors. I'd gone in early one morning expecting an ordinary day of greeting guests and answering emails. We'd been warned about a power outage, so when the lights cut out just as I was about to hit send on an email, I didn't think much of it. Typical, I muttered to myself. My desk sits between two very old rooms. The drawing room, a large space with no chairs, just a massive rug stretched across the floor, and the dining room, where a huge wooden table and heavy chairs sit on creaking wooden boards dating back to the 1700s. With tours cancelled for safety, I stayed behind to fold leaflets and organise stock while we were waiting for the power to come back. And that's when I heard it. A sound like a heavy wooden chair scraping slowly across the dining room floor. At first I brushed it off. Maybe the wind, I thought. Old buildings creak all the time. But 10 minutes later, there it was again. Long, deliberate, like someone was dragging the chair just an inch closer to me. The dining room doors also have a habit of moving on their own. I had always blamed it on drafts or uneven floors, but that day, with the lights out and no windows or doors open, the sound began to feel intentional. I started to think I was going crazy, until my colleague, who had been quietly working nearby, froze and looked at me. You heard that too, didn't you? We both went completely still, listening. The castle felt heavier somehow, like the air itself was pressing down on us. And it isn't just the dining room. There are two parts of the castle that always unsettle me, the old kitchen and my friend Sarah's workshop. Sarah makes beautiful handmade bags, but every time I step into that room, I feel an inexplicable coldness, like I'm intruding on something that doesn't want me there. And the kitchen. Well, a week before this happened, another colleague swore she heard children's laughter echoing from there. High-pitched giggles, faint but clear, like they were playing some hidden game in the shadows. She thought it was me playing a joke on her, but I was at the desk finishing the end-of-day report. Even as I'm telling you this now, I can still hear that scraping sound in my memory. Slow, deliberate, and far too heavy to be the wind. And that's the thing with spaces like that. You're in this big old castle, you're working there, and generally there's tours and there's people bustling about and there's lots of activity, and you probably don't notice things happening. Or when there's people around and a door opens, you think, oh, it's obviously just a draft, or somebody left it ajar, or, you tend to rationalise things a lot quicker. You probably don't even think twice about them. But then all of a sudden, when the electricity's gone and everything's quiet and you hear those sounds and you think, oh, that's a chair being scraped across the dining room floor, because that's a very particular sound. And then you go, oh, that's continuing. That's terrifying. And maybe that's like an attention thing. Maybe this entity or ghost or spirit or whatever it is in that space and going, now is my chance. People will actually notice. Especially if it's the spirit of something childlike, Like obviously previously your colleague said that they heard high-pitched giggles, like they were playing some sort of game in the shadows. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they were like, oh, now we can get attention from all these people, and people will actually notice when we move things and make sounds. Oh, it gives me the heebie-jeebies. I'd kind of love to work somewhere like that, like a castle. I've never been in a castle really where I felt like, oh yeah, this feels haunted. But there's so many great haunted castle stories, right? And it makes me think, like, how many sounds have you and your colleagues heard over the time that you've been working there that you've just dismissed, that you haven't even thought twice about? And maybe there is something more to it than that. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Thank you to Niamh, Billi Jo and Aoibheann for sending in your stories. Remember, the last story comes from the 3rd of October 2025. And if you'd like to send in your story, you can do so by emailing it to reallifeghoststoriespodcast@gmail.com. You can also check out the website reallifeghoststoriespodcast.com. And if you are desperate for some extra content, you can subscribe to the Patreon. That is patreon.com/reallifeghoststories, where for $5 a month or for $2 a month, you can get access to heaps of extra content, as well as every single main and mini episode completely ad-free. And on that note, I shall see you next time.
This holiday, Verizon is giving you incredible gifts and savings you'll enjoy all year. When you switch, you'll get 4 new iPhone 17 Pros. No trade-in needed. That's right. Get 4 lines for just $25 a line and the amazing iPhone 17 Pro for everyone. Save big this holiday. Visit Verizon today. $20 monthly promo credits applied to account over 35 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G and 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply for phone offer. See Verizon.com for details.